December 2nd, 1941, 19 kilometers west of Moscow. Oberst Heinrich Eberbach stands beside his Panzer III, breath crystallizing in the -30-degree air. Through his binoculars, the golden domes of the Kremlin shimmer like a mirage on the horizon. So close. After 6 months of crushing Soviet resistance across 2,000 kilometers, the prize is finally within reach. Moscow by Christmas, he mutters, repeating the promise that echoed through Wehrmacht command since June. Around him, the 2nd Panzer Division spreads across the frozen landscape, a steel serpent that has devoured everything in its path. The sounds of idling engines mix with soldiers stamping frozen feet, trying to maintain circulation in temperatures that turn metal to ice and flesh to stone. Intelligence reports arrive daily from the Abwehr. Soviet tank production, they claim, is finished. The factories of Kharkov lie in German hands. Leningrad is encircled. The Red Army bleeds its last reserves into the snow.
What armor remains are outdated T-26s and BT-7s, light tanks that German 37mm guns crack open like tin cans. The mysterious T-34 that appeared in reports from the summer? Propaganda. Soviet desperation masquerading as innovation. Paper panzers, General Heinz Guderian had called them during the October briefings. The phrase spread through officer ranks like gospel. These supposed super tanks the Soviets claimed to possess, they were fantasies, last gasps from a dying regime. Even if they existed, how many could there be? 10? 20? Scattered remnants that would crumble before the combined might of Panzergruppe II. Lieutenant Karl Rubbel, commander of Panzer IV No. 823, shares Eberbach's confidence. His tank has survived since the border, its 75mm gun accounting for 17 confirmed kills. Soviet armor melts before it. "Sir," he reports, "crews are requesting permission to paint Moscow victory marks on their turrets." Eberbach almost allows it. The hubris feels earned. Behind them lies the graveyard of Soviet armies: Minsk, Smolensk, Vyazma, Bryansk. Hundreds of thousands captured or killed. Over 20,000 Soviet tanks destroyed, if the tallies can be believed. What remains of the Red Army to stop them now? The winter, however, whispers warnings that confidence alone cannot silence. Eberbach's division began Operation Barbarossa with 347 operational tanks. Today, that number stands at 74, not from combat losses primarily, but from the cold itself. Engines that won't start, transmission fluid frozen solid, tracks that snap like icicles. Frostbite claims more soldiers than Soviet bullets. Still, Moscow waits. The orders are clear: one final push. Intelligence promises the city's defenses are paper-thin. Stalin has evacuated to Kuibyshev. Panic grips the Soviet capital. Citizens flee eastward by the thousands. The NKVD burns documents. Another week, perhaps 2, and the swastika will fly over Red Square. What Eberbach doesn't know, what no German officer knows, is that 110 kilometers east, in the rail yards of Gorky, in the factories of the Urals, a different story unfolds. Assembly lines work triple shifts. T-34 medium tanks roll off production floors at impossible rates. Not propaganda, not fantasy. Real steel, real armor, real 76mm guns that can penetrate German armor at ranges that would make Eberbach's blood run cold. And they're already moving west, through the snow, under cover of blizzards, painted white as ghosts, positioned in forests and ravines around Moscow's perimeter, waiting for the moment when German confidence peaks and overextension reaches its breaking point. Eberbach orders his driver to prepare for tomorrow's advance. The golden domes beckon. Moscow lies within grasp. He has no idea that hidden in the snowdrifts ahead, dozens of white-painted steel monsters
are sighting their guns directly at his position.
December 5th, 1941. Northwest approaches to Moscow. Snow falls sideways, thick as smoke. Wind howls through the skeletal birches. Somewhere beyond the white curtain, engines growl. Not German diesels, but the deeper, throatier rumble of something heavier. Sergeant Ivan Mikhailovich, 1st Guards Tank Brigade, squints through a slit in his hatch. To his left and right, 24 T-34s crouched in the snow, motionless, their contours erased by whitewash camouflage. Each tank half buried, dug in at an incline that transforms the slope into a fortress. Their exhaust systems packed with cloth to muffle every sound. Steam curls faintly from their turrets. Against the monotone landscape, they look like snowdrifts with teeth. "Hold your fire," murmurs Captain Mikhail Katukov over the radio. Static crackles in his headset. His voice is low, composed, the tone of a man who's fought since the first day of Barbarossa and survived every retreat. Katukov's brigade, battered but not broken, has been reorganized for this moment. Their mission: strike the invaders when they least expect it. At this range, the Germans are still blind. Underestimating the terrain, their reconnaissance units press ahead without infantry screens, their optics fogged by frost. The lead Panzer III grinds forward, treads squealing. Its gray paint stands out starkly against the snow, a moving shadow in a world of white. Inside the T-34, Ivan wipes frost from his gun sight. His loader, Private Kolya, clenches numb fingers around a shell, a high-velocity 76mm AP round. The tank's V2 diesel engine hums like a giant's heartbeat. "Range?" Ivan asks. 300 meters. "On my mark." From the ridge above, another officer signals with a red flag, barely visible in the snow squall. Then the earth heaves. A thunderclap tears the silence apart as one T-34 after another opens fire. The snow itself seems to explode. Flames bloom among the lead panzers. A Panzer III's turret leaps off its hull, a blackened geyser of smoke marking its grave. Eberbach's radio fills with chaos. "Ambush! Ambush from the North Ridge! Unknown tanks, repeat, unknown, sloped armor, guns larger than 75. German crews scramble. The confident rhythm of the advance shatters into confusion. Machine gunners fire wildly into the blizzard, bullets sparking off invisible armor. Some officers shout that it's Soviet propaganda again, a trick, until their shells bounce harmlessly off the white tank's angled plates. The realization hits too late. T-34s surge forward, their white hulls emerging like phantoms from the storm. They move faster than any German commander believed possible in this weather, their wide tracks gliding across the drifts where panzers sink. Ivan's tank slams through a burning half-track, gun recoiling, smoke filling the turret. Kolya loads another shell. Across the battlefield, German morale collapses under the weight of disbelief. The paper panzers were real, and they were invincible in this terrain. In the swirling snow, through shattered optics, Eberbach sees one silhouette rise from the haze, a T-34 cresting the ridge, gun leveled directly at his Panzer III. He reaches for the microphone, but before words leave his lips, the world becomes white light and flame. December 7th, 1941, near Klin, north of Moscow. The temperature has dropped below -40. Lubricants in German engines freeze solid, machine gun bolts jam, men's breath crystallizes on their faces. But the Red Army moves. Out of the blowing snow, columns of T-34s and KV-1s thunder forward, their white coats merging with the blizzard. What was once defensive ambush now surges into full counterattack. For the first time in the war, the Wehrmacht isn't advancing, it's retreating. Major Werner Roth, commanding a company of Panzer IVs, shouts to his crew through the roar of the blizzard. "Reverse! Reverse! Stay clear of the ridge!" But his driver can barely hear him. The tracks grind uselessly in the snow, the heavy tank sinking deeper.
Roth slams his fist against the periscope. Through the swirling haze, a Soviet tank looms. Its gun flashes, and the world he knows detonates in a fireball of metal and steam. Across the front, chaos erupts. German tanks burn like lanterns in the snow, their gasoline fires painting orange ghosts against the night. Infantrymen dive for cover, their rifles useless against armor that shrugs off everything short of an 88mm shell. The T-34s cut deep into the overextended German lines, seizing supply depots, overrunning broken infantry regiments, and smashing through frozen roads where retreating convoys choke the landscape. Soviet tank crews push forward without pause, guided not by orders but by vengeance. For each burned village behind them, each comrade executed on the retreat east, they strike back with fire and steel. Far behind the front, at Army Group Center headquarters in Smolensk, panic seeps through the command rooms. Reports pile higher each hour. Enemy attack in depth, Brigades 1, 2, and 5 destroyed, request reinforcement. Field Marshal Fedor von Bock can scarcely believe the words. The Red Army, thought shattered, is now on the offensive.
In Moscow, Stalin himself listens to situation updates in the dim light of his bunker. The order he gave days ago now resounds across the frozen front. Drive them out of our land. The Soviets reclaim Istra, push beyond Clean, then Kalinin. German lines stretched to exhaustion after 6 months of unending advance begin to disintegrate. Thousands frostbitten, hundreds of tanks abandoned. For the first time, the Wehrmacht's myth of invincibility shatters, not by superior numbers alone, but by will and preparation born in industrial secrecy deep within the Urals. At dawn on December 8th, Ivan Mikhailovich's T-34 rolls past the blackened carcass of a Panzer III, still smoldering in the snow. The whitewash is scorched, the red star beneath it revealed by heat. He climbs from the hutch, snow biting his face, and gazes toward the west, the direction of the retreating enemy. The city of Moscow still stands behind him, untouched. Its people did not flee. Its factories never ceased.
He wipes soot from his gloves and smiles faintly. They called us paper, he says to no one in particular. Behind him, the tanks of the 1st Guards Brigade rumble on, white wolves against the dawn, the tide of the Eastern Front beginning to turn. For Hitler's army, the dream of seizing Moscow has frozen to death in the Russian winter. And from this day forward, every German soldier knows the truth. The T-34 is no myth.